Mrs. Berg, we're gonna call this special meeting, the budget hearing meeting for the 2016 budget and related items to order for Tuesday, November 17th, 2015. Roll call, please.
Fetch? Roll call? Roll call?
Aye, yeah, sure.
Colston?
Yes.
Wojni?
Yes.
Conrad?
Present.
Sensala?
Yep.
Feltes?
Yes.
Mr. Feltes, would you lead us in our pledge this evening, please?
Pledge allegiance
to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. We've got the verification of the posting of the meeting, Mrs. Berg.
Yes, the agenda was posted by 4:30 on the 16th at City Hall, State Bank of Arcadia, Arcadia TV and Appliance on the city website.
Thank you. We have a period of public comment. Public comments? Yes, please identify.
Jan Warshik, and I prepared this because it's a little long. I was at last night's meeting. I was only there for the first hour and a half, but this is what I observed. Fritz, as council chairperson, did not lead the meeting. As council president, it is appropriate for you to do so. The agenda for last night's meeting had time indicators for two reports, those of Bob Sensala and Tom Weber. None of the other items had time limits. The meeting went from 7 to 11, and that's pretty long, especially for those who work regular jobs. Time allotments for agenda items keep folks on track, so I would encourage you in the future, if that's possible, to allot specific times. The update of Section 205 Army Corps levy project, it used a significant amount of time. A recommendation would have been to have a printed copy of the update available for council members prior to the meeting, and then it would allow for a more fruitful discussion. And as I said, I left the meeting at 8:30 after the first break, but it came to my attention that information of a personal nature was introduced to council members and observers. Gossip gives people a feeling of power and control over information they have, but information that is not theirs to give. There is a rule of thumb that may prevent this from happening in the future. If it is not about business, it is none of our business. If it is not about business, it is none of our business. And then the following is from a website of the Bridge Span Group.
Of what?
Bridge Span Group, an organization which addresses the responsibilities of board members, but I see it applying to all council members too. And I offer to you, as you discuss the budget for 2016, as a citizen, I'm counting on you to act responsibly. And I've made a copy of these public comments so that you can reflect on them, and I will share them with you.
Just a quick note on to the times that were on the agenda. Because you and other people have indicated interest in the past on those were not time limits, those were estimated start times, so people that were specifically interested in those items, they knew that they were up at the top of the meeting, and both of those individuals, Mr. Sensala and Mr. Weber, had asked to be at the top of the agenda. So I had given them both an approximate start time, that's all that meant, Jane.
But I would be really interested, that 4 hours on an evening for people who work full-time, and I know Fritz, for one, gets up really early. Dwayne was on call. He didn't have to be here, but on the other hand, 4 hours for a meeting that could have been condensed.
I do know that I do get up early, and I believe Mr. Sensala and Feltes too, and I don't know about your guys' schedule. I know you're retired or semi-retired, so I don't know about that, but there are multiple people that get up early. Thanks. Public comments? Public comments? Yes, please identify yourself.
Anne Wright Fine. I too was at the meeting last night, I was just wondering if this is our new code of ethics, the way we ended our meeting last night. I was wondering, we had just talked about code of ethics. Is that the new code of ethics for Arcadia, city mayor and council? To me, it was very disrespectful, very unethical, and you should be ashamed of yourself. Thank you.
Public comments? Please identify yourself.
Dwayne Metelsky. I agree with Ann. That meeting got out of hand at the very end. There was, if you listen very well, and you can watch the tape when it gets onto the website, there's a lot of comments that were made to specific city council members throughout the 4-hour meeting. And I would encourage you to pay specific attention to a lot of those comments, okay? Again, that meeting got out of hand, out of control. There's no civility at the end of that meeting, okay? The other thing is I'm very ashamed of some of you city council members that didn't stop it. All you have to do is say point of order. If we had rules and regulations like Dr. Fetch had tried to present, maybe we would understand that you have that right and that authority to say point of order and stop it. Very few of you should be ashamed of yourselves. That's all I got to say.
Thank you. Public comments? Public comments? Comments from the public? Hearing none or seeing none, we're gonna move on to the discussion.
And I decided I want to say something. I don't care to speak at meetings, but I'm going to. I want to say that I also am ashamed. I'm Teresa Metelsky. I have, since I moved to Arcadia, been lied to by my public officials. I was at my neighbor's anniversary party and I was made fun of by one of the councilmen. I see 3 of you falling with the mayor. You do whatever he says. He constantly talks to you, texts back and forth. You 3 seem to know what's going on, those 3 don't. That's shameful. They're all representing all of us. We all deserve civility, and you only do civility when it serves your purpose. I have been a victim of that. When I was attacked openly at a meeting, and I wanted to refute it, you purposely, and you can see this on the video, it is on the website. What meeting was that? July? It was in July. John purposely, I was sitting there, looks the other way. Marlis was attacked at that meeting by Carrie Supla. He advanced on her, and not one of you buddies of Mayor said a word. She was attacked. He was advancing on her. My husband had to get up, a civilian, a person in the audience. That's shameful.
What was the date of that meeting, please?
I'm not sure, I believe it was July 9th.
Yeah, that's what I thought, it was July 9th. And I'm ashamed of you guys.
Thank you. Public comments? Public comments? An opportunity for public comments. Mrs.
Jim
Jan?
Bush, I have a question. In terms of the budget proceedings, will we have opportunity to speak to it during the time that you're reviewing it?
At points throughout, absolutely.
Okay, thank you.
Public comments? Comments? Public comments? Mrs. Bird, how are we doing on the time? Okay, we're gonna close the public comment period, and at this time I am opening the public hearing for the 2016 general fund budget and tax levy. This was provided for publication in the newspaper, the Trumbull County Times. It was not in its entirety, it was the summary. Mrs. Bird, please correct me if I'm wrong. It's the summary that we see on pages 1 and 2 that was in the newspaper, is that correct?
Pages 1 and 2, yes.
And those 2 pages were published in their entirety. And what they do is they show the 2014 actual budget, the 2015 budget, the 2015 year-to-date budget, which would be, correct me if I'm wrong, that's through 10 months, and then the 2 months that you projected. Is that correct?
Correct.
And then the proposed 2016 budget. This process included multiple steps, including meeting with all of the department heads, taking a look at different things that had been asked for throughout the year, wages, benefits, health insurance, and all the likes, requests for training, supplies and expenses, and the like. So we will begin on page 3. You'll notice the page numbers are at the top right-hand side of the page and big black bold letters. And we can begin with zoning and planning administrator and then just go section by section. Because of the length of this thing, 26 pages to go through, as well as the fire board budget and computer services and the appraisal contract. When we do accept comments from the public, I would ask that we keep them brief to about a minute. If it's an in-depth issue and needs to be followed upon, follow-up questions I think would be okay, if that's okay with everybody. Any issues with that? Jeff, are you here for the entire budget or specifically for the fire board budget portion?
I'll stay for all.
Okay. I just didn't know, I know you've got a busy schedule, I was just asking, because if you wanted to deal with the fire board, we could have looked
Thanks
at
for
that.
asking on, but
Okay. So we'll open it up to zoning and planning, and we will go section by section in the bold black lines, unless there's specific questions going throughout. Zoning and planning has 2 sections here. The top one is Bill Chain's position, and the bottom one is an assistant to him, which people have been supportive through meetings, through, I lost the name of your committees, since Housing and Building Standards Committee, and there was going to be a referral to the full council for that, along with a proposed job description, and that has been budgeted for, so there's not a shortfall in the 2016 budget.
So question, Mr. Mayor?
Yes, sir.
So this person is not on board yet,
That is correct.
and so the 38,680 is just a planning figure. So budgeted item, if we would get an assistant. I guess that's what my point is. And you made, I believe, the same point. I want to make sure people understand it.
It looks like our points are in agreement, Dr. Fetch.
Good.
Any questions or comments about that section from anybody?
May I just ask a question in general?
Yes, ma'am.
The last 2 months are a projected amount. How do you,
Can
can I find out how that's done?
Can you just, for the record, just identify yourself?
I'm sorry, Antoinette Johnson, and my question is, I see the last 2 months where everything has to be projected, and I'm wondering where do those magic numbers come from?
Well, with wages, you do like a year-to-date through October, and then you calculate out what that would be monthly, and you try to estimate that for the rest of the
For
year.
the 2 months, okay.
Some of the things like street capital outlay, we try to look at, what we're under contract, what we have left to pay, and estimate. Like the Eva's budget, most of that is done for the year except utility expenses. So you can't just, project everything out, prorate all the expenses for year to date, because some happen just in the summer.
Thank you.
And I believe that all of the projections you did at your own undertaking and your own work.
I did, and so, me being human, they are subject to, not being perfect, but I tried to estimate them out the best I could.
I know for me personally, this is my 10th budget, and as human as you are, I've never seen any issues with that, so you've done a good job on those. Okay, we'll move to the City Hall clerk's budget. In this budget, you will find the positions of the city clerk, who is 70% general fund, 30% utility. Sally Silla's position, who is 50% general fund, 50% utility. And the, correct me if I'm wrong, the court clerk position, which is split 50-50 between the city hall budget and the court budget.
Correct.
So if you're wondering what those numbers mean, that would be 70% of Mrs. Bird's wage, 50% of Sally's, and 50% of the court clerks. And then Social Security, retirement, then everything is also prorated at those percentages. Any questions about any of those? Yes.
Rob Reichland, I have a question in regards to, I was just looking at the city website as well right now. And under 2015 expenses, it says year-to-date total on the website, it says $276,815. But out here it says $242,365, which would be the correct number.
Can you restate that, please?
On the
What's on
the
the
city website that I just looked at right now,
Okay.
it states that the year-to-date expenses for 2015 through 10/31/15, it states $276,815. I apologize, I did not write down the change. And on here it says $242,365. Just wondering which one would be correct. That's, would make a heck of a difference, because that would bring you, that would obviously probably throw off your projection too.
Can you, Rob, I'm gonna ask you to just shoot me those numbers again. This is under the
If you give me one moment, I'll look them up and give you the exact. $276,815 on the website.
276,815 on the website.
Yeah. Unless I'm wrong, because I'm looking at the phone, but I think I'm right.
What are we looking at, Rob, please?
What page?
If you look at the City of Arcadia website,
No. Which page?
the general fund city hall budget, page 5, where it lumps everything together.
Where it's all together?
Yep, where it says 2015 year-to-date,
Page 5?
YTD 10/31/15.
Oh, okay, all right. I see 242,365,
Yeah.
and then you add on the.
Well, what I see at what the website says is 276,815.
Where is that on the website, Rob? That's something Carla posted on there? I just
Go
wanna
under
see it.
government on the website, and then is it the finance tab, and then city hall. You see it
When
under-
this
Otherwise, I can show you this first.
When did this go into the paper, Angela?
I can tell you what probably happened, Rob, is if I was working on this budget in October before, you know, if any time we do a check run and we update expenditures, if she pulled it at a different point in time, there's gonna be a difference, but
I was just not wondering if this is the right number through the end of October, or that's the correct number.
I think if they were pulled at
Maybe over
different
a
times.
30% difference would have been, or over 10% difference.
Well, I think if they were pulled at at different times, they were probably both the correct number at the point they were pulled.
That's what I'm just wondering if this is the most, it seems like this would be the most up to date then,
Is that what you're saying, Angela?
because it wouldn't decrease over time.
I don't know
Expenses
what day
typically
she pulled that. We're not at City Hall for me to be able to look on at general ledger.
That was more of a comment than a question, I guess.
I have to pull a general ledger, but there's a $34,000 codification expense on here, and I don't know if that was a comprehensive plan expenses, but I don't believe that was a codification expense. I would have to look at the general ledger and verify that.
Well, codification was right around 28,000, wasn't it?
29.
Huh?
$29,040.78.
That's very precise, thank you. I was doing my best recalling it from memory.
And that was on the website, but not on this.
Can you give me that exact dollar one again? 29 what?
$29,040.78. On page 4, where it talks about the City Hall budget. City Hall ordinance codification. So it's not included in this page, but it was on the website.
Okay.
The big difference there is probably Carla pulled it on a different date and time because some of the expenses are right on. The big difference is this budget doesn't include that 34,000 and I need to find out what that is.
Can you make sure that we follow up so people are able to know about that, Mrs. Bird?
I will.
Thank you. Okay, so that brings the total 2016 budget for City Hall to 279, 662 as the proposed 2016. Our next section is the 2016 ambulance board budget. I believe that this was passed independently when Mr. Conrad brought it to the agenda, I don't know, August, I don't know when it was, September?
The meeting was in September, wasn't it, Dwayne? Like the 18th or something, I wanna say?
And the increase in there reflected the increase for the
Purchase of a new truck or ambulance.
anything about the ambulance budget? Okay, moving on to the fire board budget. You are going to see a different number here that Mrs. Burke has. If you could explain what happened there, Angela, and members of the common council, I believe you got a sheet that looks like.
Can I please ask what the new number is? 90, is it 93?
$91,147 is what's listed.
Mayor Kimmel, can you give me the new number in the, or Jeff, do you have a copy of it with you?
No, I don't.
I'm gonna have Jeff explain the difference, but the number that was in the budget at the time of publication was 91,147. The new number for the allocation for the 216 budget is 93,432. Do you want me to explain that, Jeff, or do you want to?
You can if you want, otherwise I can, it doesn't matter.
Okay. Go ahead.
Can you give me the budget, please? Jeff Alverson, Fire Chief, Arcadia Fire Department. The reason the increase in the budget from the first time it was given to the city council, I was given incorrect numbers for equalized valuation from the town of Arcadia. We reran the numbers. Actually what it did is it lowered the equalized valuation for the town of Arcadia because they were trying to catch the whole township. And we don't cover the whole township for the fire department. There's a stretch in the northern part of our township. So by redoing those numbers, the township of Arcadia dropped in percentages for equalized value, which bumped up the city and the town of Glencoe. So the correct number is 93,432 instead of the 91,001 or 91,147.
$2,285 difference?
Yeah.
question.
2285.
Why are, don't you think we should go and approve this fire department budget before we try to approve our main budget tonight?
The fire board budget is further down on the agenda, but we can certainly jump down to
Well,
that
we
section.
should do it right before we, but before we approve our city budget, that should be approved.
Oh, well, it's fresh in everybody's mind, why don't we just, it's letter C, it's down just a little bit.
Well, that's fine by me, it should be.
Motion?
Yes.
I'll motion that we approve the increase of
You just approve the
revised 2016 fire board budget.
Second.
Motion by Mr. Wajni, seconded by Mr. Fetch to approve the revised 2016 fire board budget. Any discussion from anybody on that? Hearing none, Mrs. Berg will accept a vote, please.
Colstead,
Yes.
Wojni,
Yes.
Conrad,
Yes.
Sensala,
Yeah.
Feltes,
Abstain.
Fetch.
Yes.
Okay, going back to the, we'll go back to the fire board budget as part of the city share here. Any questions or anything about that from anybody? Hearing none, we'll